laying on the ground pleading for their life.
You know, all my white friends gonna call me before they come. My black friends. Thank you all for joining us for another episode of Brother. This is episode 8. We interview law enforcement. We've interviewed pastors and churches, youth leaders.
Some of our community leaders. We've come a long way.
Well, our mission was to try to do something impactful. You know, our red dots on our shirts are intentionality, so we couldn't get away from it. And we were so blessed. And a little behind the backstory. So as you know, we've been advertising having a potential future mayor of Durham and leader of Durham here on with us. We have Elaine O'Neal. But we're so grateful that we had all of them show up. So when it comes to as far as giving a voice to the people and connecting to those people, I want to let you know that we didn't ask them, they volunteered. So it lets you know what they're trying to do for us and for our community. So let that be known. You know, when the call was made out, they stepped up to it. And that's the type of leadership that I myself thankful for. So once again, we got the pride of Roxborough, DaRon, in here. We try not to say necessarily the pride of Roxborough, because it can get a little sticky meaning, but we got DaRon here for us, and just thankful we're here. Got anything to say?
Just as always, thank everybody for supporting us. This has been a blessing. From where we started, we always say started with a table with a crooked leg. So
we did.
We've come a long
Literally.
way. Yeah, and just like Marshall said, we're blessed. We were expecting one guest, but good thing we bought a big couch because we got an extended list here today.
I said, don't be me, right? I'm going to give you more than what you asked for.
Exactly. So we're excited to have this conversation. Like Marshall said, we wanted to create change. This is how it starts. So, like I said, blessed to have everybody here. Me and Marshall is always blessed to have here. And thank everybody who's going to watch this later and everybody who's here to see this today.
No doubt. So without further ado, let's jump on in it. So we wanted to first and foremost start with giving the platform to Elaine O'Neal. We wanted to ask, you know, besides, you know, the fluff questions as far as like, what's your vision for Durham? I want to know just what it was like for you growing up in Durham.
Wow.
Yeah, like why is this important?
Yes. And to Marshall, I'm so proud of you, young man. I've known him since he was this high. His parents are his Uncle Butch and Aunt Sharon are they're family to me, and so I'm just so proud of you, young man, for all you've done, and you too, and all of you millennials, and basically I think that's why having the experience that I had growing up on the West End, where we were a community, you know, and you knew everybody, and everybody took part in how you were raised, and they always kind of showed you the way. Along the way, I saw that missing for a lot of our young people. So that was one of the reasons why that I wanted to run, because I remember walking these streets downtown Durham as a child, you know, when it was a Bilt's, and it was a Maryland shoe store and a Tom McCann, probably stuff you all don't even know about.
I heard that one.
Yeah, so, you know, and even this building here, it's full of great memories for me. And I wish for every child, every young person in Durham to have the type of experience I had in growing up. And I just thought that we were losing that. And from having been here all my life, I know that we can go back to that. And we can have some of those things. We don't have to invent the wheel. It's already been done. We just have to make sure that it's working for everybody.
I 100% agree. We don't have to invent. We can innovate.
That's right.
The people are already here. I think in my perception of a leader, especially for Durham, Durham to me is very unique in that I feel that somebody who kind of knows the inner workings of the city serves us best with understanding the sentiments of the people. There's a lot of things that can happen on the outside, but Durham has a heartbeat. A very strong black heartbeat at that. I think we're very uniquely positioned to have some very, very powerful black people. And we got 4 black leaders
we do.
On our couch. Like, most cities don't have that type of representation.
Yeah.
We stand for representation, not expectation. So I didn't want to take up the time, but I wanted you guys to have a chance to introduce you all and tell us why. I'm not sure, are all you from Durham? No? So, okay, so yeah, exactly. So we're going to find out, you know, best interest as well. I'm going to go let the ladies go first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm DeDreana Freeman, and I want to thank you as well. I appreciate Elaine O'Neal inviting us to join her. I actually serve on City Council now, representing Ward 1, and this is my first term, so I'm running for re-election.
That's right.
And it's been a very different experience, you know, just having the judge kind of like here, and it kind of giving that feel of what Durham is really about. And so it's kind of like monumental to be at this moment and to know that we're going to have our first Black woman as a mayor, and it's going to be Elaine O'Neal.
Shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so powerful. And, you know, for our constituents out there, because, you know, my mother isn't here yet, and she told me to watch my language, but I will say this: get your asses to the polls. I'm sorry, like she called me for the show, and you know, like I said, she said we family. So she said I watched some of the other shows. You get a little too colorful. I said not today. So y'all don't tell me when she walked through the door. But can you educate our audience on when they vote for you? What does that mean? The decisions that are made in the community that affect them. What does that mean in your position?
Definitely. The City Council focuses mainly and predominantly on the budget.
Okay.
So we serve as a council of 7, and the mayor could, you know, kind of orchestrates all the meetings and the conversations around how we move. But we serve as a council of 7, and all of us represent you. So even though I have to live in my ward, and as well as my other colleagues here, so the representation is really just from the ward standpoint. It's just for the person running, and then everyone else is just everyone votes. So
Right.
if you live in the city limits, you vote for whoever's on the council. That representation, for me specifically, means that that there's engagement, there's conversations, there's constant listening. I think that everybody brings a different perspective into the work, and I try to track my neighbors and their positions and how they feel about things that are coming up. Mostly we vote on contracts with land and planning use or zoning uses for land, and we spend a lot of time debating conversations around initiatives and what have you, but a lot of it is done before we get to the meetings, and I'd say that I take what I get from the community into the work.
Great. That's awesome.
Go ahead,
One
brothers.
Yep.
So, I am I'm Leonardo Williams. And
One quick question: did you play sports?
did I play sports? I did.
I was about to say, because y'all don't know, he bought one of Disrupt shirts and he filled it out. He
Yeah.
walked around the corner and I was like, that's one of our leaders right there. Go ahead, brother.
No, I wasn't born in Durham, but I was really made a man in Durham. I graduated twice from NC Central, NCCU.
Double Eagle.
Yeah, I was head drum major at Central for the band. So all my sports days, football, tennis, basketball, track was in high school.
Oh, but you played in the band at Central. In this community, yeah, you did something.
Right.
That's no homecoming.
You know, I pledged my A Phi A at NCCU.
Who you with?
So my story, my youth was at home, but my story really began here, I'm a 2-time Teacher of the Year for Durham Public Schools. My purpose was evolved, as a teacher. Shortly after, became a principal, associate superintendent in a different county, and ran the state's largest foundation for public school children. Was an education consultant for Governor Cooper. So my career in education really just jet streamed, quite swiftly. But that young girl I fell in love with my freshman year at Central, after she smacked me and disappeared for 13 years, I finally ran back into her. And we kind of fell in love again. I got married. And, so much that I quit the governor's office and became her delivery boy. It was shortly after that. We opened the nation's first Zimbabwean restaurant Zweli's Kitchen, and I just opened our second one 2 months ago, and I just signed a lease for our third, all here in Durham. But through that, I still had that same sensation of loving hard on the community, helping to develop purpose in the community, helping to tread a path for young brothers, especially young black men, to not necessarily follow my path, but see how I devised that path so they can do the same for themselves.
Right.
So that is, it feels good to know what I'll do retiring, you know, and that's just changing the lives of young black men, you know, but also more specifically here why I'm running for city council is to be a part of this representative body that helps shape opportunities and growth for our city.
Yeah.
You know, and as a small business owner, you'll hear us talk a lot about subject matter expertise. You'll hear me talk a lot about economic development. Durham was built on the backs of black entrepreneurship, you know, and as significant it is, I come from Eastern North Carolina, just like, you know, the founders of Black Wall Street
That's
did,
right.
you know. So let's talk about this resurrection.
Man, look, that's exactly what we're on. We, you know, economic empowerment is how we're going to get there. And, you know, it's a conversation that it's tough for people in our community, but, you know, if you want your own, you got to get your own. That's basically where I go about it. And, you know, there's plenty of ways that we can do that. But first and foremost, having a leadership that tells people that. You know, I feel like we've had leadership, not particularly in Durham, but just in general, that will tell you some things because they want to exploit you. And I think it's very powerful that we have people up here that do look like us, right? I mean, even if they didn't, but we know now it's like, hey, man, my struggle is your struggle. You black too. You know, and you talked about black men. I think Durham cannot progress if the black man and the youth don't step up. And I'm looking in the camera and saying, yeah, we need to step up as a whole, myself included. Hence, this is why we're trying to do it. This is not for ego or glamour. At our level, what we can do to help the community is what we can do. So if I can get a couple people here and some cameras, get the people here in conversation, and that's what we do. So I appreciate that.
I'm going to have to talk to you about them plates too. Restaurants you got.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Go ahead, bro.
Lastly, you know,
Thank you, brothers. My name is Mark Anthony Middleton. I'm an incumbent on the Durham City Council Ward 2. First off, which camera? I want to say to my high school guidance counselor, aha. He knows what I'm talking about.
That's right.
I'm saying. First off, let me just celebrate you, brothers. For this is dope, right?
Oh,
this whole you got like real microphones and cameras. I tried to do a show one time. Yeah, no, seriously. I tried to do a show one time and I was filming myself around the city, but the district attorney said stop.
Yeah,
So,
hey,
but that's-
this is like the iteration of, like we said, when we started off with that one table that was leaning.
Yeah.
It was, all I got from my girl was, why the table leaning? And first of all, we had nothing on the table or anything,
No.
so.
But started from the bottom. Now you, the whole team with you. So, brothers, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here with a history maker, a trailblazer, and Elaine O'Neal, and these colleagues. I think what's represented here today is a seismic shift in Durham politics, a total paradigm shift. There are two narratives about our city. You know, as an elected official, I'm a brand ambassador. That's one of my jobs, is to trumpet the message of Durham. And I've drunk the Kool-Aid. I believe all of it. Our city's dope. I've been here. I'm originally from Brooklyn, but I've been in Durham for almost 30 years now. Okay. So when I go to Brooklyn, they snatch my card. I'm a straight up tourist when I'm back home in New York. So Durham's all I know now. But you know, there's a narrative about Durham, highest per capita PhD rate in the country. One of them, startup capital of the South.
Exactly.
Hot place for millennials. Best restaurant scene in the South. Best theater between Atlanta and New York.
That's
DPAC.
right.
Believe the hype. All of it's true. But we know there's another narrative, right? 20% poverty. A lot of our people not participating in the economic boom that's going on in our city. Tonight, young brothers and sisters will be jumping in bathtubs when it's not bath time. They're dry because they're ducking gunfire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even talking about what we see on the news. I'm talking about the gunfire that's unreported.
Right.
That's
For
part
real.
of the narrative too, right? So if we're not careful, one of those narratives is going to eclipse the other.
That's very
And I think what I'm so proud about this team that's getting ready to take the reins in Durham is that we want to close the gap between the narratives.
Gotcha.
You know, we are unashamedly about closing that gap. Black, brown, white, straight, gay, rich, poor, whoever you are, there's a seat at the table. But we know that some of those seats have been folded towards the table. And this team is about pulling those seats back and welcoming more folks. So I'm running, you know, for re-election in Ward 2. I've focused for the last 4 years I was in office on things like gun violence, economic empowerment, our shared economic prosperity plan, a guaranteed income pilot. You know, Durham's a city who will try stuff. So I've been pleased to be part of conversations that are trial and that issuing pilots. I'm here with my fellow incumbent, Councilmember Freeman, and you know we've been trying to hold the line for our people and trying to lift up all segments in Durham. You don't have to agree all the time, but you do need to be heard.
Exactly.
It's important that voices are welcome to the table, and that's what we're about. That's what this team is about, and I'm excited to be here. Guidance counselor.
That's right.
That's
That's right. Now, you said something that's very important, and I wanted to make sure that we hit on that. What this is a chance to be heard. Okay? I think from any leadership or any leader, you know, giving somebody a chance to be heard is day one. Now, whether that leader will be able to enact those things is a different thing, but you will always know that you have a platform and a place to be heard. And I think right now in society, we have to make sure we make that distinction because people think they aren't heard because people don't do what they tell them to do.
Yes.
You know, and that's, be honest, our younger generation a little spoiled
Yeah, we are.
with that, you know.
Yes,
and I want to
we
make
did
sure
that. We
yeah,
did that.
right.
We did that.
Yeah, we want to make sure that people understand and say, hey, you know, you don't have a lot of chances to be heard directly to leadership, but they're here on this couch saying, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
But I would say this, when you offer something, do your due diligence too.
Yeah.
You know, I was taught as an elder, if I ain't going to bring nothing to them unless I did my homework, because that's disrespectful of them.
Exactly.
And I think that's the ownership you take, or we should take on ourselves, the young population, on if you want to have a substantive idea, substantive policy, think about who it affects just besides you.
Yeah, you got to be bigger than you.
Because that's what a leader has to do. And until you're able to sit yourself in that position and think like that, you know, turn the mirror to yourself. I'm talking to myself as well, so I'm not trying to be authoritative, but I want to put a responsibility on us as a community to actually do it the right way.
But work together. That's the most
Exactly.
important. You know, we got to work with them. They have to work with us. It's a meeting that has to be there. Like you said, everything that we want, we can't have. Everything that sometimes our politicians want to give us, they can't always give us those things as well. Leading into that, I'm going to ask this to Elaine, but everybody chime in. What is your vision for Durham?
One, that we are unified and we listen. We begin to listen and try to move together. You know, we're not all going to move in the same direction at the same time, but surely there's a collective vision. And that calls for us to be able to have conversations with each other. And it calls for us to build relationally like this. You know, the one thing I enjoy about the four of us now, and I just met Leo really while we were in this process. DeDreana, I've known a little bit longer, and Mark. But we have fun together and we have serious conversations, you know, just getting to know each other and build relationally. And we are independent thinkers, each of us.
Right.
So, and all of us bring something to the table. I have the expertise in the law in that area. You have the restaurateur, the business owner. You have the person who's working in the schools. And Mark doesn't say a lot, but she has that Christian edge. She has that preacher edge in there.
Hey.
You know, so you need a little bit of all of that. And it's all important. So I'm running on a platform of unifying so that we can all begin to listen and build together. That's what everybody wants to be loved and everybody wants to be heard. And I think we can have the combination of both. Where and you're gonna hear me talk about love because that's the only thing that lasts. You hear a lot of people talking about hate a lot. Okay, let's change that. Let's come from a position of brotherly love. You know, love thy neighbor as thyself. And that's what I want to do, is see us more unified. So that's my primary goal. And with these folks sitting right here, there's no doubt in my mind we can get a lot done, and we're going to be able to hopefully build and have a 7-member council, right? That's unified. So we're not leaving anybody behind.
That's
We're saying, come on, join us. Let's do it together. It's going to take all of us, especially you all. You know, when I think about you all, we're trying to build a next generation of leaders.
Exactly.
So it's important for us to be in here and have conversations with you all, so you'll be ready to step to be the next president, the next governor.
Right.
It starts now. It starts today.
Right. And I think that's why representation is so important in that, is that if you have never seen that, you don't think it's possible. But there's 4 people here who are in leadership or who will be in leadership that make it possible from you.
Yep.
And they probably come from situations and backgrounds that are very similar to, you know, these aren't, you know, people that are outside of the realm of experience that a lot of people have gone through. They've evolved in that experience, but that's one of the things that is required upon you for anybody for growth.
Yep.
And you said, I mean, when you was just talking about unity, I mean, it was just powerful.
Yep.
Because I hear it coming from your heart, and it's not from your mind. And there's so many politicians and so many people that you hear talking, you know.
You can tell.
We've been around enough people to sniff it. We may not say it, but we sniff it. And so I appreciate that. But I wanted to give a chance for you guys.
I would just like to say, I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge, like, the deep diversity of our experiences. I'm the oldest of 10. And,
wow. Where you grew up?
6 with my mom and 4 with my father,
Where,
whom I just met 3 years ago. I was born in Trenton, raised in the Bronx, and we moved back to my mother's hometown in Montclair, New Jersey.
Y'all ain't got no beef, right?
Nah, we good.
Y'all ain't got no beef, right?
I got prior, so I got to be cool.
But just knowing, like,
That's awesome.
when I sit down to talk with people, I want to meet them where they are, because I know what my experience is, I know my biases, I know my, like, things, and I need to give space. And so just making sure to be open and ready to receive is also part of that. And I feel like that's where the leadership comes in, is that over and over again, as you build and you learn, I mean, just knowing all the different parts and pieces, the relational aspects of building your leadership skills or building whatever it is the initiative is that you're working towards, it takes a lot of people. And having 6 brothers and 6 or 5 brothers and sisters, you know, that to kind of organize and work around and figure out who's going where, when, and, you know, well, who's going to fight who or what.
That little sound like
It's
a little
all
instigating and compromising.
We got to settle this one way or another.
Right.
You know,
But I think it's important, and, you know, just being real open about it, because I mean, I think I'm a very private person, and so this is new for me to, like, share out in that way, but it's important for folks to understand.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
now I can appreciate, you know, Councilman Freeman. I mean, she's never been a candidate, you know, to talk to people. I just love that I get to run with someone who's always been that neighbor, you know, and I can clearly state the independent intellect that we all carry, but the commonalities that we're fighting for, you know. Now everybody has an ego, and the reason why I talk about the word ego is because that is how I view this city, ego civic. And this is something that I was working on, you know, for, you know, our youth, and you know, and my generation, you know, like, you don't have to call us millennials, just call us the coolest generation.
Okay.
It depends on what end of millennium you're talking about.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, it's the upper end.
I'm on the upper end. But no, ego civic, man. This is the phrase that I continuously, you know, attach to why I'm running. But ego civic, economically growing our own to be civically engaged. You know, at my place of work, I keep hearing this resonating voice of this young lady that's working with us, and she said, "I can pay my car note this month." You know, it's like, to just someone, just a normal person, it's like, but to her, she finally is working in a place where she feels appreciated, valued, and she's getting paid a decent wage, you know, and now we're all committed to working together just that much more.
That's right.
You know, and I can't expect some chain or whatever. This is not knocking anybody else, but I shouldn't expect them to do the same thing. Love on Durham like I love on Durham, you know?
Exactly.
But I know that if she's giving us her best self and we're giving her our best self, we're all going to be good, you know? So for me, it's all about, you know, developing a pipeline of, you know, talent. I don't plan to be here for, let me just put that on the record. I'm running for office very specifically to uplift our own and make sure that everybody can get paid a decent wage and start having a bit more equity in the conversation on how they actually get access to a decent quality of life.
Right.
You know I may not even see that in my lifetime, but at least I can get this thing rolling in conjunction with everything else that we have. I'm gonna start it and get out of the way.
That's right.
I'm already having conversations with the next whoever wants to step into this position of leadership. You know, we have to start succession planning, especially for us.
Oh,
Yeah, come on, give me the piece. One of the things I'm really excited about this mayor to be is when Her Honor takes the gavel. I love saying that.
You say it so well.
When
When
Her Honor assumes the gavel in early December, she will be first among 7 people. And I love what she says about unity, because 4 people can ram policy through, but it's going to take 7 folks to unite a city.
That's right.
And every person on that council, whether you agree with them or not, each one of us represents tens of thousands of people that voted for them. So you can't just discount them. You can't just kind of, if you want to make policy and run policy through, you can. But if you want to do what Elaine O'Neal wants to do and unite a city, then you're going to have to build bridges. And one of the things I'm most excited about helping this mayor do, not only make policy in the first 100 days and make sure she's successful, but to help build bridges.
Yeah.
You know, and to help unite this city. It's an incredible city, man, and this is an incredible mosaic and symphony here in Durham. And everybody's got notes, everybody's got bars to you know, contribute. And no mayor talks like her. We've just not had a mayor to talk like this, you know, before. Absolutely, man. So we are on the threshold of Durham's next great renaissance. I believe that.
100%.
It's crazy to be part of it. You know, so yeah, let's get it.
You know, and when you talk about music, one of the things that Deidre and I have been talking about, one of my desires is to have a big soul train line with all kinds of music. So you'll have the rap, you'll have the rock, you'll have Hispanic, you'll have German, you'll have all
That's
around
what I'm talking
the city.
about. See, we
You know, so you bring us some unity. That everybody loves music.
Everybody.
That's the great, you know, that's the great unifier. So that I need for you all to help me figure that out.
Oh, don't worry. We got. I was thinking about it. We got plans.
So I want to have the biggest, most diverse soul train line ever across this city.
My family. We like the pie.
That's right.
So when it goes to that,
we just gotta build community, and it doesn't take a lot. You know, it's like Mark says, everybody should have a voice.
Right.
You know, that's why you have, and everybody should be able to listen. Even iron sharpens iron. Right, so in the courtroom we had all kinds, and I see one of my counterparts out there, Judge Jumar, sitting in the audience, and you know, you have to be able to listen to diverse voices. Yeah. People who don't agree with you. Everybody has value.
Right.
And their opinions and voice should count. And we should just not discount them because they may not agree with us, or they may not be a Democrat, or they may not be an independent, or whoever, whatever. Let us come together and let us move forward. And I think we have a unique opportunity to do that. I just feel it. Yeah. And but the window is short. Because, you know, hate can, like Mark says, hate can eclipse. You know, the downside can eclipse. Yeah. So it's an action. Love is an action word. You have to put action behind that. And I think we have a committed group of people that's ready to love on the city and love each other and stop killing each other in a way that's just,
beautiful.
not just physically, but you can emotionally kill people.
Yes.
We know how to do all the ugly things. Let's learn how to do the better things.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right. That's
Yes.
right.
Right.
Learn how to do the better things.
Yeah.
If I could build on that, I would say that it's going to be really critically important to do the active loving through anti-racism.
Mm-hmm.
And so acknowledging, like, I think we've had the conversation around race and racism and, progressive and not progressive, but we haven't been having the conversation we need around being anti-racist and making sure that people move beyond just being diverse and inclusive to actually making sure that folks have equity and inclusion in a way that actually keeps them whole or treats them dignified and respectfully. I know that I don't want to go into the ugly places, but it wouldn't be me if I didn't.
Yeah.
What we saw happen in this last year in our county was disgusting.
Exactly.
And it really, really sat with me in a way that I couldn't let go of, and I really want to wash it away. And I think the way that we do that is to make sure that we're all talking to one another, keeping the lines of communication open, holding folks accountable. Just because you've done the wrong thing doesn't mean you just, you don't run and hide. I need you to come out, show your hands, and apologize. Like, you've got to do the work to fix this. And we've been missing some of that.
I got a question about that, 'cause some interest, like Marshall said, we did a little homework before we got here. Something I saw from your campaign page, which really piqued my interest, was calling racism a health crisis. Can you elaborate on that, and what did you mean by that? Because that really caught my attention when I saw that there.
Well, from my vantage point, when you sit 24 years on a bench, and when you walk into a courtroom every day, that you walk into a courtroom over that 24 years, and 90% of the people in a criminal courtroom are black and poor.
Wow. Yeah. Tough.
What else do you call it? And then to see the physical toll that it took on me, and I'm sure on everybody else that's a part of that system watching that, you have to begin to wonder how that happened. And it happened 400 and some odd years ago, and you cannot ignore that. Unlike South Africa, which took the time to do truth and reconciliation, the United States has not done that on a whole scale. So when I took part in the Racial Equity Task Force, that was my contribution in saying that we've got to deal with these issues because they affect black people on every level. Every mother of a black son, when they go out of the house, it's a painful time because you want them to go, you want them to have fun, but at the same time you worry whether they will come home or not. That's real. My son is 28 years old. I have 3 sons, and every time they leave my home, I think about that. So racism and the effects of that weigh on your stress level, it weighs on your psyche, and it causes all kinds of health issues for us at a base level that a lot of people don't recognize. And we can quantify that. We really can. When you look at, we're at the bottom of every stat. We're at the bottom of it all the time. And so it's time that we talk about it. We can't just let it say, okay, it's going to fix itself. No, it's not. We're going to have to take the time out, and people don't like to have those hard conversations, but they're necessary. And so that's why it has to be viewed in terms of how we survive, because a lot of our young folk are not surviving.
Yeah.
They're not surviving, literally.
And it was something that you said about not just being inclusive, but being anti-racist. And that's that's most important to me, because I look around the city and I seen it being more inclusive to economic development, but it's still being racist in the sense that it ain't us.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying that, they're purposely excluding us, but they're not doing it in this, well, let me not speak in general. From what I'm feeling, it's not done in a way that's like, oh, we're doing this to include the community. It's like, wow, we know new people are moving here. It's actually like, I feel like they're building stuff for the plants that are coming here, not the city that's here, right? Everyone's building something because we know Apple's coming. We know these people are coming. We know that the base price of their job is going to be $184. So the economic structure is going to be different.
Yeah.
So let's make offerings for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those condos being built, it's not for people that have come from the city. You know, in this strange way, I put the responsibility on us as well somewhat to say, okay, hey, what do? We have those things. But at this time, I feel like, okay, now we have leadership. It's going to tell you the ways to go and have your best interests at hand. Now, you can lead a horse to the water, but y'all actually got to drink.
That's right.
You know, so
Your mama gonna get
Your
you.
mama,
She
she
is-
is here.
look, I ain't see her come in.
She's here. I'm gonna tell you that.
I told him about
Mama's here.
you. Look, she said, I was talking about a donkey. Oh man, but no, like you're right. Like so many people I've been in. You know, I lived in Oregon. I lived in Houston. I lived in Philly. I lived in Texas. I've been in every time zone. And, you know, people think racism is something like, oh, well, I'm not racist. I don't think about it today. But I'm like, if it was just like that, you wouldn't hear our mouths as much. Like, this is a real, actual thing. Like, you have to actually combat racism. It's not enough just to say, you know, I feel like in the history of the country, it's been the moderates, it's been the apathetic attitude to racism that has actually extended racism.
Yep.
Because they know that one who want to be racist, that they'll fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to get rid of it, you have to fight back.
Yeah.
Now, we could do that in our ways through our leadership and those like that, but we need to have an attitude that this is something that takes active.
It is.
You being active. So,
I like that.
yeah.
When good people do nothing. Yeah. When good people do nothing, evil will prevail.
Yes,
Well, my man say good trouble. We need to get into some good
you
trouble.
have to, and it's going to take more than us.
Yeah.
We're trying to build a movement,
Exactly.
you know, of people who will actively engage in what we're about, because we can't solve it alone. It's going to take every single person in this room and that's listening to us to help make Durham the place that we want to see. You know, when I was growing up on the West End, it was a time when my father worked at the factory, at the Ligament Miles factory, making about $7 an hour. And he was able to buy a home on the West End that we still own today. That, by the way, is probably worth more than my house. It is worth more than my house, right? So, but it was all over that neighborhood were black men who were working in factories who were able to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and their offspring, like me, I've never lived anywhere else, we're still here.
Yeah.
And we still want to raise our kids here. So it's painful to know that my 28 and 30-some-year-old sons, they're having difficulty finding jobs that will allow them to do what my dad did 40-some years ago, where he was able to buy a house, raise a family, and do it very well. We can't let that go. I cannot let that get out of my mind to think that we've come so far that you all can't buy a house in Durham and live. Makes no sense.
So, in picking up on the economic pieces and who Durham's for and who the pie is for, I'm currently a sitting elected official, so I want to be careful. I'm not telegraphing policy that's sure to come. I'm not saying that this is definitely going to happen. So I'm going to put that disclaimer. But I will say this, and I've been talking about this on the campaign trail. After World War II, the United States of America spent hundreds of billions of dollars rebuilding Europe.
Yes.
Something called the Marshall Plan.
Mhm.
Right. We and I,
Mhm.
respectfully, I think we need Marshall Plan type investment
Exactly.
in our legacy black neighborhoods here in Durham. You go to Sweet Auburn in Atlanta, you think about Sugar Hill in Harlem. These are pilgrimages. The folk come to these cities to make pilgrimage to these places because they are these legendary black places that have been protected. It would directly, contribute to, other than DPAC and our ballpark and Central games and Duke games. I mean, that's an economic driver for our city as well. So it's not just about black, but I'm looking for some revolutionary paradigm shifting investment.
Some
Fayetteville Street corridor, that's
yeah.
one of the last great approaches to downtown.
Mm-hmm.
In these neighborhoods, Merrickmore, you talk about Bragg, you talk about Hayti, not the romanticized, evocation of Black Wall Street and Hayti, we get misty-eyed. I'm talking about actually restoring it with as a matter of government policy, as part of our larger economic and wealth generating plan for the city. We need a Marshall Plan for our legacy Black neighborhoods in the city. I'm not only a member of the council, I'm a citizen, I'm a resident, so I'm going to be lobbying my government to consider those type of policies. But yeah, I mean, you talk about anti-racism. Talking about diversity and inclusion is real comfortable and cute till you start spending money.
Exactly.
And until you start have to, because investment oftentimes requires divestment from another area.
Right.
And redirecting money. And folks you're gonna see who your allies are when you start talking about spending real money in Hayti as much as you do downtown on bike lanes.
What you saying?
So stay tuned.
Racism?
Defund racism.
I like that.
That's
Can the
right.
kids have a park community? Can they have an open community center again?
It's
In
the
more than
little
one
things.
neighborhood.
Right.
Can we have a Can we do that?
So I'm not a current sitting council member, so I can say what I want. And just full disclosure, I don't want any surprises when I get there. I don't want folks to be like, "Oh, wow, you're talking about that." But
I appreciate that.
the way I operate, just like I used to do at the step shows, I would see what I want the show to look like, right? So with Durham, based on my experiences and conversations with folks in the city, I see what I want to see the city look like, what we want to see it look like. So when I drive over the bridge over 147, I don't see 147, separating our neighborhood. I see our neighborhood revitalized. I see with this $500 million that we still have left to spend, in transportation. I see us having like the state-of-the-art bus systems with retail in our bus terminals.
Mm-hmm.
I see, building and growing Durham and having, a designated space for, Black or minority-owned contractors like we used to do, like how we built South Point Mall.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest blessings that happened to my wife and I is we were denied a loan 7 times to open our restaurant. So when I used my retirement from teaching to open it, now we've created this new path of how to build a business. And we have to document that and pass it on.
Right.
So now we have to create new systems of innovation rather than just relying on what's there. And we can do that in Durham. And I think that's how we can also economically evolve or re-evolve us as a people. So I see this event center downtown that is ran solely by youth. That is pumping new entrepreneurs out, starting at 16 years old. I see a citywide entrepreneurship and apprenticeship program that's enlisting our juniors and seniors from the high schools,
Right.
and pairing them with startups and small businesses across the city. And I see us creating our own process rather than just relying on major corporate banks to please give us a chance. This is Durham. This is Durham. So it's time for us to write our new path, write our new way. So that's how I see us economically developing.
No, I mean, I tell people all the time, I didn't move back to Durham just because it's my hometown. Like you said, this is an actual place to be.
Yeah.
Like, this is the place to be. Then I was in technology, and I'm like, I want to be a Black tech founder, right? There's not that many in Durham, and technology is breaking down all these barriers. If I can do something to show an example to a kid or upskill some youth in what I know, then now just, take one person with me. And I think what I also notice about Durham is that how we were uniquely built is that, like you said, the ancestor spirit is still here. Man, I've gotten to know so many guys that are super creative and so many girls that are super talented in what they do but don't have a lane to channel that, don't have an opportunity to exploit that as far as how far their value goes. And I feel like in a city that fosters that, we should tap into that. And I think first and foremost, it starts with people wanting to have programs that we first teach these kids valuable skills that allow them to do those things. Whether it's, hey, we were doing something before, which is, hey, teaching somebody how to get their LLC.
Yep.
You in the game. It's like, okay, now you're a business. Now you formalize. Even signing your papers at the LLC. I remember when I did it. I'm like, I ain't got nothing really, but hey, you know what I'm saying? It made me feel good. Like, I'm a business owner. Like, the state recognized me. They gave me a business. Okay? Yeah, but that's just a start, right? You go there, and then it's like, we start to unlock the box of what's possible.
Yes.
You know, I was fortunate enough to have my uncle step in my life and show me what's possible. Because being in East Durham and, you know, Fairview Street projects, that's all I thought. But then I was blessed with just 2 people. And everything changed. I'm here because of that. Not saying it doesn't, and the point I'm making, it didn't have to be my biological mother and father. It just had to be somebody willing to step into the way.
That's
right.
And that it takes a village. And I think if we all collectively start, especially as men, I'm gonna speak to the young black men. You got to take responsibility for your brother. In way, we have to lift the city up as well. You know, we can't just rely on other people. You have to be an active part in it. And I'm only saying this as a challenge to not only you but ourselves. Like, you see what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're just trying to get you to see from our language what change really looks like.
That's right.
Because they can make the change.
Yeah.
We can make
We can make the change.
We can make the change.
We
You're right.
can make the change.
We can make the
Yes, we
change.
can. And we must. And we should.
are.
And we will.
We will.
We will together. Yeah, I'm gonna, ask as soon as we as Mark says, I'm giving the gavel, and we're given the go ahead. We're gonna begin to build, I hope, an ecosystem for our youth. So that there are different and multiple pathways on how we encourage our young minds to gravitate into being a part of the community at a base level.
Yeah.
And do some of the things that you're talking about, and we've got to start that now.
Yeah.
So I need for you to start thinking now. What's going to be your part? I need for you to give 5 hours of community service outside of your regular circle,
Right.
outside of your church. We got to reach one, teach one, and we can't be afraid of each other. So many times when I worked in the courts, there was this disconnect between the black middle class kid and the kid who may not have as much.
Mhm.
There was a real disconnect, and it shouldn't be that way, because when I grew up on the West End, we all lived in the same world. I was at Central before I realized that having stolen items was illegal. Stolen clothes, because they brought the clothes to the different places, and so it was like, oh, that's against the law. Because everybody was there. So you had the liquor house there. You had the people that had the ball tickets. You had the people that had the stolen clothes. It was like, shoot, that was a good sale. Okay. So I mean, for real. So yeah. But it was a community, and as you got older, you began to, figure out that everybody was pushing together, that we were not separated so much by wealth or the lack thereof. And so we cannot be afraid of each other now and separate ourselves because of a wealth gap.
Exactly.
We have to go back and help. We've got to. We can leave no one person behind. So some of the smartest young people that I ran into were some who flew colors. They were as smart as some of the lawyers. Because you have to be to survive on the streets.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So we cannot afford to waste that talent. But a lot of them lose their connection with what it's like outside of those arenas. And because a lot of us, when we left those arenas, we never went back. I don't want to have anything else to do with that. I'm out, I'm gone. No, we cannot. We're losing too much talent that way. Yeah. And if we don't go back, if we don't reach back, who will? Who will?
Yeah.
If we don't do it.
That's really important. We've talked about that. I don't know how many shows we've had that conversation come up where we can't go anywhere without those who have already left and show. They got to show us the blueprint. Like you were saying, I learned how to make my business. What's my responsibility?
And we got to be willing to listen to them.
Yeah, let me show somebody else who isn't there how to get there. And I think that's the biggest thing. Once the feet get on the ground and the movement starts, that's why I think this is beautiful. I'm not from Durham, from Roxborough, but just sitting here listening to you guys, it's just beautiful hearing the vision and what you guys are trying to do to the city. Because in Roxborough, we don't have this at all.
Well, you just got 2 or 3 council members who were black.
It's starting.
And so it's time.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, this is very impactful what you guys are doing in Durham, and I really hope to see this trickle down to Roxborough.
I want to say it's also an opportunity in Spring Hope, there's a black woman running for
Mhm.
mayor,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole host of cities and towns across this state. There are black folks who are trying to make sure that they're politically engaged because that's our power.
We have to be.
I mean, for our brown brothers and sisters who don't have a vote,
Mm-hmm.
we are the vote, and so
Exactly.
we've got to be exponentially engaged. Because I feel like that experience has just been missing across the state. That's why we're hurting the way we are at the state level with our legislature. And so just knowing like this is a part. This is a part. This is where we line up the pieces and put it together. But there's so much more.
Yeah.
So much
The
more.
biggest thing is just the representation.
Yeah, exactly.
People seeing people who look like them in these seats and in these positions, it opens your mind a lot. Look at what Barack did for a lot of people, right?
Exactly.
When he won presidency. It really opens your mind and shows you there are other things we can do. There's other avenues and other places we can go, like you said.
Right.
There's a lot of people from the streets who are very intelligent. They don't know where else to go but the streets.
That's it. That's it. And we can't forget our brown brothers and sisters
Mhm.
because we share a lot of the same experiences, right?
Right.
So our histories may be slightly different, but we share a lot of the same experiences. So I'm determined that we be inclusive. You know, we've got to be inclusive, especially of those who are most distressed in our communities. We cannot, when you bring make the invisible people, because we can really, if you're of a certain class, you can kind of really tailor your life around not seeing people,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
right? So we have to make the invisible visible,
Yes.
right? Other than on the news at 6 o'clock.
That's
You know,
right, yeah.
but in handcuffs. We got to make them visible. And so that's the same thing for our brown brothers and sisters. They're invisible a lot, and a lot of that's fear. And we know that fear. We've experienced that fear. So we've got to make sure that we include as many people as we can who have similar hurts and pains, so that we can solve these things together. There's enough room for all of us at the table, and it's time.
It is time.
It's time.
Yeah, you know, unity. What you said, that's all it is. And lastly, I wanted to end with this. I think this is important. So we've talked before. We've interviewed law enforcement on, you know, obviously being from here, the narrative is gun violence in the city. But the approach that we've taken to it is that, yeah, we can talk about how we're going to enforce it and all those things. And I know people have platforms for that, but I'm a person like get to the root, right? The motivation of that person wanting to shoot somebody like me first starts in their head and in their heart,
Yep.
right? Mental health.
Yep.
So I don't look at, because to me, when it's too much on, well, we need old policing here, old policing here. For the record, I do believe in policing. We need that to safeguard our communities. But sometimes when it's too far like that, it makes me feel that, oh, they inherently think I'm bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't think anyone, black, white, brown, whoever, is born in this world inherently bad. What we do for survival, what we do to make it, changes our behavior. But that mental health, to look past your situation, to look past where you are, to say, hey, even though my situation is like this, I can move forward. And I think that's important that we start looking at that. So I wanted to get you guys ideas on, you know, the mental health of these young black brothers and sisters are struggling. What are you guys' plans for that?
I'm gonna start with the black man.
That's
Well, all right.
Let's start with the black man.
I'm qualified for that. So, brother, thank you so much for the question. I think one of the tragedies about this debate in our public square in Durham is that we've had folk engage in kind of zero-sum game.
right.
If one thing wins, the other side has to lose. If one side loses, the other side has to win, as opposed to an across-the-board, multifaceted approach. You mentioned Barack Obama. When President Obama was sworn in, he became the commander-in-chief of the United States military, but he also was in charge of health and human services as well. Because a fully functioning government has to have tools. And as an elected official, you know, when we take our oath of office, we're taking an oath of office to protect 300,000 people. And I want as many tools as possible to be able to do that. So I want to be able to send mental health workers to brothers and sisters who need it, because the end result is to keep them alive.
Yeah.
But if white supremacists storm my city center, I'm not sending mental health workers. I'm sending a SWAT team. And I need that tool as well. But you want to talk about root causes? I'm in people's living rooms almost every other night on the news talking about our need in this city to have a multitude of approaches. So guaranteed income, that's root cause. When we talk about a Marshall Plan type investment, that's root cause. Expansion of violence interrupters in our city, which we worked on, Councilman Freeman and I, on the council, that's a non-policing intervention to deal with gun violence and crime. So I'm just really tired of folk who want to pretend that we aren't smart enough in Durham to be able to do it all.
Right.
That we as a government, because one of the things interesting is when brothers and sisters took over in South Africa, one of the things they had to do was give up their nuclear program. Did y'all know that?
I didn't know that.
South Africa had a nuclear weapons program.
Wow.
But before blacks took power, one of the things they negotiated away was the nuclear weapons, because N-words can't have the bomb, right? But one of the reasons why they didn't want them to have the bomb is because that would be protection against neo-colonial adventurism. And white folk coming in, so they took the bomb. So as a black elected official, I get a little nervous when we finally become mayors and governors and presidents. They want to start taking our tools away. I trust myself. I trust this mayor to be. I trust this council because we are the government. I trust us to snatch badges when they're necessary, to say, nah, you can't work here because we don't play that in Durham, and to also have the tools that are necessary to address root causes. I ran to spend real money on root cause initiatives. I just ain't had the votes. We'll see.
You gotta say.
Hey, look. I know a lot of y'all did not vote in this local election.
That's right.
Got to.
A lot.
Mama, excuse me. Get your asses to the phone.
Your mama gonna get you.
Yeah, she over there with the eyes. She don't even want to take off her mask.
Because I see those eyes. I know those eyes.
I recognize those.
But no, seriously, we are you're hearing them say the things that are at your heart that you want. Go do it. Don't sit up here and talk and cry about it. It's one thing I cannot stand. I can empathize with you all I can, but the minute that you don't want to do nothing about it, bro, you out. If you want to make change in your community, make change. All you gotta do is vote.
I can remember sitting around for Thanksgiving right after the 2017 election, after the 2018 election, and 2017 before someone took office, and really pulling out my cell phone and going around for anybody who said it, pulling up their actual voting record and letting them know that you did not vote. I don't want to hear your mouth for the next 4 years. We need you to sit down and be quiet.
Right.
When you had a chance to go and do it.
Exactly.
You pulled their records up?
Yeah.
You petty.
She pulled that card.
NC voter lookup.
We got the source. NC voter lookup.
Receipts.
If you cast your ballot, I don't care who you vote for now. But if you're going to be in this conversation, I need you to pull the trigger. You have to actually vote. You have to be engaged in our city. Our civic life is really having a negative impact, more so than the police.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't complain.
Why are we not doing this? We can't. 10%. 10%. It's not enough.
It's not. Yeah.
And even at 60 and 70, we should be at 90 and 100. Where are you? Where are you going in a world like this? The republic that we live in is a very fragile space.
Democracy is
We have to cultivate our future together. I am prepared to do what I need to do. I need more people to be prepared to do what they need to do.
Yes, all politics are local for real, people.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, and I remember, as a judge, you're elected officials, and that's not true in every state. Some people have a
After
high.
you vote, me and DaRon, we've been thinking our platform, if we can get people to vote and vote for the leadership that's going to do in the city, oh man, this could be so great for us. This could be huge, And it's important that you do it now, because if not, the new interests coming in the city, new things coming in the city may already have that tread too far.
Yep.
Like, when I say this is the fight for Durham, like, we are hanging on the thread before it actually gets completely cut. And so that's why, to me, this election is consequential. Very consequential. And the local election matters so much more than to you. Actually has a much more impact to you locally here. And so, get your ass up.
Just closing. There are some things that are happening. Like, first of all, anytime we want to disengage people, we encourage. Let me reverse that. Anytime we want to encourage lack of engagement, we enforce or try and encourage a reduction of numbers or how can I say this? People being involved, right? Like, it's 300 and some thousand people in this city, and we have 16,000 max turnout for voting recently.
Wow.
You know that, and then you have some of the people who are impacted the most, literally walking around the city saying, "Oh, I don't vote," almost like it's cool. And then you have those same folks that are following the same behavior of, "Oh, I don't get vaccines." Well, how did you get in kindergarten? How did you get in high school? How did you get in college? You know, so it's offensive that, you know, some of my own folks have been, you know, impacted blindly by this behavior that they've now adopted, you know, and that is what's on the line.
Yeah.
You know, and Durham is a very unique city, but it's also rare that you can literally drive into this place and feel the DNA of the folks who, you know, the soul of the city. And that's why we keep saying we're fighting for the soul. Because it's not just on the Republican side. We have craziness on the Democratic side as well.
Sure. For sure.
You know, and we also have a lot of parachute, you know, droppers that come into the city, claim local ground, and disperse movements. You know, it happens a lot. You know, so there are a lot of things on the line. We are literally on the brink of, and we think we're unaffordable right now to live in this place.
Wow.
Yeah, we think we're unaffordable now. Just wait 5 years.
Just wait.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
and it's going to take bold leadership to get on council and say, you know, no, this is how we're going to operate in Durham.
That's right.
You know, and it's going to take us, you know, right now it's hard to get into Durham, so folks are moving to Maverick. It's going to take people going to rural counties and flipping them blue so we can actually get some control on our own cities. That's the long-term goal. But right now, there are a lot of things at stake, like literally this election cycle. You know, we want to economically develop this city. That's what we all trying to do. You know, and we want to make sure that we can find creative ways to get shelter in this place. That's what we're trying to do.
That's right.
You know, so if you hear somebody walking around town and say, "Oh, I don't vote," please have grace, but don't give up.
Yeah. I'm
Please pull them in. We can't allow them to say, "I don't vote," and keep walking.
No.
So if you're in Sam's Club parking lot, you know, have somebody pick the heavy water and put it in a trunk. Like, "Hey, are you registered to vote?"
Right.
You know, just do something nice, start a conversation, but we got to start communicating more with each other. You know, and just to, you know, finishing up here, going back to the root cause, I don't believe that kids drop out of school. I think that we push them out.
That's very
You know, and I know a lot of times they say, "Well, city council has nothing to do with education." Well, maybe in the legal confines or financially it doesn't, but we can't have over 600 churches in this city and still have poverty. We can't have over 600 churches in the city and not look at those churches as classrooms before school and after school. We can't have parks and recs and no programming. You know what I mean? Like, we may not be able to, like, legally fund the schools, but we definitely have a bully pulpit that is big enough to say we're going to educate all of our kids.
Yes.
And the earlier that we engage them, the less we're going to lose on the end. You know, so I know that this group of people right here, I know we're committed to those root causes. I know that we're going to adopt more conversations and adopt more policies and ideas on how we can, you know, get our kids back in so we can stop losing them to each other, as well as to the systems.
Yeah.
So that's why I believe we're here today. I think that's how we can address these root causes. And I think it's how we're going to recapture the soul of the city.
That's right.
And you know, and we're not superheroes. None of us are Superman or Superwoman. We very much go home.
That's right.
And we have to eat every night. You know, we have to eat every night and every day, and we sleep at night. You know, we are pretty much just human beings trying to make the best of a city that we can from our part. This is our part. This is what we're volunteering to do. Send us, we'll go. But be sure one thing, it's going to take all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to absolutely have to commit to doing something outside of your circle. You have to. If you're looking for us to make the change, and even when we hope the 7 of us, and you have your county commissioners on board, and it's still like 20 people.
That's right.
And you have over 300,000. We need every person that lives in Durham County who can and will to do something. You've got to do something. And it's got to matter to someone other than you. It's got to matter to someone other than you. That's my commitment. I'm not going to make you any promises that I can't keep. I'm going to tell you when I can't do it. I'm going to try to listen more than I talk. And I need for you to talk to us and correct us, because iron sharpens iron. But believe me, the only way we make Durham what we wanted to do is it's got to be a we. It can't just be us. So we're going to call you. We're going to see.
Be the change you want to see. And with that, mic drop. For real. In summary, I think one of the things that's important about doing all this is letting people know that in order for our city to survive, for instance, when I look at the reason why I started my company, Maverick Innovation, is that, yeah, I wanted to do something so I can, have a life free of my choice, but I wanted to create an institution. I didn't see my company just as a business. I saw it as an institution. North Carolina Mutual was an institution. Like, it was something that served the community, and it wasn't just a product that served the community. It was a soul, it was a meaning, it was a purpose. And I feel that people starting things now, and the officials up here are talking about getting that mindset of building something that serves people, not just self-serving. Because, like you said, that's the only way we're going to do this is together.
Yeah.
So, DaRon, you got something in closing?
This was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm so thankful.
I'm so thankful it worked out this way, that all of you were able to come here. Elaine, you would have been great on your own anyway. But I'm so glad we had everybody here on this couch. This was impactful.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
The biggest, like you were saying, the biggest thing is I hope everybody who's here in the building and everybody who's listening in, the biggest thing is, like you said, I hope we all can just take this, show that empathy and love that we need, and just come together and create the changes. Even if it's not in your particular city, starting somewhere can grow it to other places. So I think that's the most beautiful thing. Anything that me and Marshall can do to help
for sure.
Let us know.
Doing it.
We should, like,
I'm doing it.
DaRon
So
said in a little video we did before this, we got to be some steppers.
Yeah, we got to be some steppers. We got to put the feet to the ground.
We definitely want to, work with you and support you guys in any way possible.
Yes.
But thank you all for joining us. This is episode 8 of Brother, the community show. That's right, Bull City.
Bull City.
That's right. The title of this episode is The Future of Durham. So, once again, take this home, chew on it, but I don't care what you do. Walk your ass to the poll.
You gotta
give a second.
Your daddy here too now.
Yeah, I'm in trouble now, so I'm just
You're really in trouble.
Make it count. Make it count.
It's been about 3 times he said
this backwards R got to mean something on my shirt. But we thank y'all once again for joining us. We thank the community once again for supporting us. It was your support that has built this movement, built this community, that has allowed us to have these leaders on the couch. So in 8 shows, this is the power that just unity brings. We said we want to have a voice. We heard voices here, and we allowed people to join in. So thank you so much for supporting, brother. We out.